A woman wrapped in torn layers sat trembling against a freezing city sidewalk while strangers rushed past her as if she were invisible. Her hands were pale from the cold, her face hidden beneath a faded scarf, and rainwater dripped from the edge of a cardboard shelter above her head. Luxury cars rolled by, shoes clicked across wet pavement, and not a single person stopped to ask if she was okay. Then a tired single dad carrying groceries in one hand and holding his daughter's tiny fingers in the other slowed down, looked directly at her, and made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still matters and everyone deserves understanding and second chances, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Moments Hub for more emotional stories that stay with you long after they end. Evelyn Carter was 32 years old, one of the youngest CEOs in the country, and the founder of a billion-dollar financial technology company that had transformed her into a respected but intimidating public figure. Business magazines praised her discipline, investors admired her fearlessness, and competitors feared her instincts. She was intelligent, composed, and nearly impossible to impress. But behind her polished public image was a woman deeply disconnected from the people around her. Years of betrayal had made her cynical. Former partners had lied to her. Friends had disappeared when money complicated relationships. Even within her own company, loyalty often felt transactional. Evelyn no longer believed in kindness without motive. She especially didn't trust emotional narratives. So when rumors began circulating about one of her employees, Daniel Brooks, a 35-year-old systems analyst and single father, Evelyn became suspicious. Daniel was well-liked, hard-working, and respected by nearly everyone. He was known for quietly helping co-workers, staying late without complaint, and balancing his demanding role while raising his 6-year-old daughter alone. But anonymous reports had recently accused him of manipulating sympathy from management to secure schedule flexibility and internal favoritism. There was no concrete evidence. Still, the accusations lingered. Evelyn decided she wanted the truth. Not through HR. Not through reports. Not through polished office behavior. She wanted to know who Daniel really was when nobody was watching. So she created an experiment no one could have predicted. Using an old coat, oversized pants, worn shoes, and a faded scarf, Evelyn disguised herself as a homeless woman and positioned herself outside Daniel's neighborhood after work. She told no one except one trusted assistant and security personnel observing from a distance. At first, the experience felt almost amusing. Then reality arrived quickly. Hours passed. The cold was unbearable. Her body ached from sitting on concrete. Her expensive skin care routine meant nothing against windburn and rain. Hunger became distracting. Passers-by avoided eye contact. Some looked uncomfortable. Others openly stared with judgment. A young couple laughed quietly while walking past. One businessman shook his head in visible annoyance. A woman pulled her child closer. Evelyn felt something she had not experienced in years. Powerlessness. Not theoretical. Physical. Emotional. Humiliating. For the first time in her adult life, she understood what invisibility felt like. And then Daniel appeared. He looked exactly as described in his company file but somehow more tired in real life. Tall, slightly lean, dark hair imperfectly styled by exhaustion rather than intention, old winter jacket zipped halfway, grocery bags hanging from tired hands. Beside him was his daughter Emma. 6 years old. Small pink coat. Curly brown hair in pigtails. Holding her father's hand while skipping slightly ahead. Daniel noticed Evelyn almost immediately. He slowed down. Emma looked too. Evelyn prepared herself for awkward discomfort or quick avoidance. Instead, Daniel crouched slightly in front of her. He opened one grocery bag and began removing items. Bread. Soup. Fruit. A bottled drink. Not leftovers. Fresh groceries clearly meant for his family. He placed them beside her carefully. Then he removed his own scarf and offered it too. The night was freezing. He obviously needed it himself. But still, he gave it away. Evelyn stared in stunned silence. This was not performative generosity. No cameras. No audience. No social approval. Just instinctive compassion. Emma then did something even smaller, and somehow even more devastating. She reached into her tiny coat pocket and pulled out a chocolate bar. Probably her treat. She gently placed it beside Evelyn and smiled. That tiny gesture shattered something inside her. A child who had so little was still willing to share. Daniel gave a small nod before guiding Emma onward. No questions. No judgment. No expectation. Just kindness. Evelyn sat frozen long after they disappeared. But one moment wasn't enough. She returned the next day. And the next. Each day, Daniel repeated some version of the same behavior. Coffee on colder mornings. Extra sandwich at lunch hour. A small blanket one evening. One rainy afternoon, seeing her soaked and shivering, Daniel made a decision Evelyn never expected. He invited her into his home. Not permanently. Just for warmth and a meal. Still, it stunned her. His apartment was small and visibly modest. Worn furniture. Tiny kitchen. Laundry folded carefully in baskets. School papers on the refrigerator. Children's books stacked neatly in corners. It was not a place of abundance. But it was full of care. Emma offered Evelyn a seat on the couch while Daniel prepared simple pasta in the kitchen. The smell alone nearly made Evelyn emotional. No one treated her like an inconvenience. No one acted uncomfortable. They simply made room. Later that evening, while pretending to sleep under a blanket on their couch, Evelyn watched Daniel sitting alone at the kitchen table reviewing unpaid bills. Medical notices. Rent statements. School expenses. A hospital invoice. His expression was exhausted but determined. Then he reached for a framed photo beside the bills. A woman. Likely Emma's mother. Gone. Suddenly, everything became clearer. Daniel was not exploiting sympathy. He was surviving impossible circumstances with remarkable dignity. And still choosing kindness. The next morning, Evelyn quietly left before they woke. Back at headquarters, she immediately launched a private internal review. Within hours, the anonymous accusations against Daniel collapsed entirely. The source was uncovered. A resentful coworker competing for a promotion had fabricated complaints to undermine him. Daniel had been innocent all along. Evelyn sat in silence for a long time after learning the truth. But what haunted her wasn't the false accusation. It was the memory of Daniel sharing groceries he could barely afford. A little girl offering chocolate to someone the world ignored. A struggling family with limited resources showing more generosity than most wealthy executives she knew. She knew clearing his name privately wasn't enough. At the next company-wide meeting, Evelyn stood before hundreds of employees. Her posture was composed. But something about her felt different. More human. She publicly announced the investigation findings and formally cleared Daniel of all allegations. Then, to everyone's shock, she apologized. Not corporate language. Not rehearsed damage control. A real apology. She acknowledged that assumptions can be dangerous, and that people carrying the heaviest burdens often remain the most generous. Daniel sat silently in the audience, visibly confused and overwhelmed. But Evelyn wasn't done. She promoted him to Senior Operations Director, increased his salary significantly, introduced expanded family support benefits for employees, and created an emergency assistance fund for single parents within the company. The room erupted in applause. But Daniel remained still, processing everything. After the meeting, Evelyn privately told him the truth. About the disguise. The sidewalk. The experiment. Daniel was shocked. Anyone else might have reacted with anger. Instead, after a long silence, he simply smiled with tired understanding. Because somehow, despite the unusual circumstances, something meaningful had emerged. Perspective. Weeks later, Evelyn visited Daniel and Emma again. Not disguised. Not hidden. Just herself. Emma recognized her immediately and laughed. This time, Evelyn arrived carrying art supplies and books for Emma. Not as charity. As gratitude. Over dinner at their tiny kitchen table, something shifted inside Evelyn permanently. The warmth she had spent years searching for in achievements, headlines, and valuation numbers was sitting in front of her in a tiny apartment filled with imperfect love. She finally understood. Success without human connection is an empty victory. Before we reach the ending, comment below, what would you have done if you saw someone alone and struggling on the street? Months later, Daniel's life stabilized. Bills became manageable. Emma joined a dance class she had dreamed about. Their apartment felt lighter. And Evelyn changed too. She remained ambitious. Still powerful. Still respected. But no longer emotionally unreachable. Because pretending to be invisible had forced her to finally see what mattered. And one struggling single dad had reminded a billionaire CEO that true wealth is measured not by what you keep, but by what you willingly give away. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs this message today, and subscribe to Moments Hub for more emotional stories about kindness, compassion, and second chances. Sometimes the people with the least to offer materially are the ones who give the most where it truly matters.